Hi Year 9 and welcome to Lesson 6 of GCSE Psychology. For this lesson you will need this PowerPoint, a notebook, a pen, a highlighter and a ruler. Okay, if you are in option A, this is due in on the 26th of June. If you are option C and D, this is due in on the 29th of June. Now, as I said, this is lesson 6, and in this lesson we will be investigating what a case study is and looking at the case study of HM, and you'll be able to understand how the case study of HM impacted the knowledge that we have of memory. So what I want you to do now is write down the date and title and underline with a ruler, please. We've got 3 learning outcomes this lesson. The first one is to be able to explain what a case study is. The second one is to outline and explain the case study of patient HM. And the third one is to discuss how the patient HM case study changed our knowledge of memory. Now then, so what is a case study? So a case study is a very detailed investigation of an individual or a small group, and it's usually around something that's quite unusual. So for example, with the case of HM, he had surgery on his brain and lost part of his memory. So as a result, that's quite an unusual case. So it's quite interesting for us to research in psychology. So a case study is focusing on a unique person or group of people. And because it's a small group or an individual, you can conduct quite an in-depth analysis of that person or group of people. So you can get quite a lot of information from it. So what I'd like you to do now is write down for me what a case study is. You don't have to copy what's on the slide in front of you. You can write your own definition based on the information that you've learned there. Okay, so pause now if you need to, and I'm going to move on to the next slide. Now then, there is a couple of famous case studies that some of you may have heard of, some of you may not have, and that's not a problem because it's not going to hinder your learning. I just thought I'd give you some of these because they are quite interesting. So the first one's called 3 Identical Strangers, and this is a documentary on Netflix, and it is about 3 brothers who are triplets, but they were separated at birth, and they happened to come across each other by accident. And the adoption centre that split them up and put them up for adoption did this intentionally because they wanted to investigate the triplets and see how they would all be similar or different. And if you watch the documentary, it does give you quite a lot of information on that. It's about an hour and a half long, but it's really worth the watch. The next one is Jeannie, and Jeannie, this isn't her real name, it is a made-up name, and she is known as the feral child because she was kept in a cage in a bedroom at her parents' house, and her father was quite controlling and her mother was blind, so as a result she kind of tolerated the father's behaviour because she was quite vulnerable herself. So if you go onto YouTube and search Jeannie, there is a lot of information out there. And you've got Washer the chimp who learnt sign language. You've also got Phineas Gage, and we will learn a bit more about him in the brain and neuropsychology topic, so I won't tell you too much about him. And then you've got Tan, who was a Frenchman who had impaired speech but intact comprehension, and this case study links to memory, so if we have a chance this year we may have a look at him. And the one that we are looking at today is patient HM. Now patient HM, this isn't his real name. His real name is Henry Moallison, and his name is shortened to HM to protect his privacy for when he was taking part in a psychology experiment. Now then, he was born in 1926 and he died in 2008. And when he was growing up, he suffered with epileptic fits, and these got worse as he got a little bit older. So at the age of 27, and this is back in 1953, he had some surgery to reduce the epileptic fits, which was successful. His fits did reduce. However, the parts of the brain that they removed to reduce the fits meant that he basically got brain damaged, and he suffered amnesia as a result of this. So now what I want you to do is pause here, and from the information that's on the slide, I want you to summarise who HM was. Now then, there's a video here that you can watch. I have also embedded this video into Firefly, so you can always watch the video afterwards. It just gives you a little bit of information on HM, and the brain surgeon's grandson is actually an author who's written a book about HM. It's quite interesting. So it's about a 6.5-minute video, so if you want to pause and watch that now, you can, or you can watch the video afterwards. Now then, patient HM, as I said previously, he had brain surgery and part of his brain was removed, and the part that was removed was called the hippocampus, and you have two of these, and you have one on each side of the brain, and they're placed at the back of the brain. And when these two parts of his brain were removed, they meant that he could no longer make new long-term memories. And if you have a look at the picture on the right hand side, you can see on the left you've got a normal brain with the two hippocampi in place, and then you've got HM's brain, and you can see that the hippocampi has been removed. So what I'd like you to do here now is pause and have a look at the questions in the pink box. I want you to tell me, what did HM have removed? What does this part of the brain do? And what did this cause to happen to HM? So all the information to those 3 questions is on this slide. Now then, the severity of HM's deficiencies was a surprise to the experts in 1953, as they didn't realise that the hippocampus was linked to memory. They thought that the cerebral cortex, which is the outer layer all over the brain, they thought that that part of the brain was linked to memory. So when they removed the hippocampi, they weren't expecting for their patient to become brain damaged and have loss of memory. And if you have a look at the picture here on the right hand side, what they did after HM died is they got his brain, they sliced it and preserved it, and they turned it into a 3D reconstruction. So the image on the right is a 3D image reconstruction of HM's brain. So if you look at the bottom of the right hand corner, you've got the hippocampus there of a 78-year-old female, and she was a donor, so she's donated her brain to science so that we can look at inside it. So on that image you can see an orange shaded area on the end, and if you have now look at the main image, the larger image, this is HM's brain, so you can see how much of the hippocampus is missing. So that's the orange shaded area on the image on the right hand side, the smaller one. You can see how much is missing from his brain, so you can see how as a result of that missing, that it had an impact on his memory. So what I would like you to do here now is pause. I want to summarise who patient HM was using all the information from the previous slides that you've just looked at, and then I want you to think about how did this study impact the knowledge that we had of memory in 1953. So how did this case study of HM change our knowledge of memory? Okay, so pause there to answer those 2 questions. And finally, this is just a short one. So that's who HM is in a nutshell. As I said, there's the video for you to watch, and there is also a link to an article that I'm going to put online on Firefly, and I want you to just have a flick through and a read through that so you can learn a little bit more about HM. I'm also going to put a quiz on Firefly for you to check your learning in relation to the patient HM, and I'll get you some feedback as soon as possible. Now then, once you've done all of your work, take a picture that you've completed today and upload this to Firefly, and I will give you some feedback on that as soon as possible. Okay, now to finish, Mark this work as complete on Firefly, and please make sure that if you are option A, it is completed for Friday the 26th of June, and if you are option C and D, please complete this for Monday the 29th of June. Thank you. Have a great day, Year 9.